We are launching Operation Economic Outcast. Our objective is to sever every economic lifeline that sustains this tyrannical regime until Tehran stands alone. The new sectoral sanctions determinations issued today target 5 of Iran's most vital lifelines: digital assets, technology, gold, aviation, and shipping.
Treasury Secretary Bessent saying it's economic D-Day for Iran. Associated Press saying Bessent is saying that new U.S. sanctions aim to block all potential sources of revenue for Iran. Iran's currency hit a record low. The rial dropped to 2.02 million to the U.S. dollar as trading opened on currency markets. The Treasury Secretary unveiling sanctions designed to cripple Iran. Axios, the U.S. already has significant secondary sanctions targeting countries that trade with Iran. For the new economic pressure campaign to be effective, the U.S. will need to mobilize its Western allies to form a coalition to enforce the measures against Iran. The Trump administration will also have to aggressively confront countries like China, Russia, India, Pakistan, Qatar, Turkey, and others, something it has not done so far. Let's start there with our panel. Fox News contributor Hugh Hewitt, USA Today White House correspondent Francesca Chambers, and John McCarthy, former senior advisor for political engagement for President Joe Biden. Okay, Hugh, what about this? It is a different effort, but it is putting the screws to Iran in a different way.
And tighter, I hope, Brett. Good evening. Long overdue is everything that can be done. And I think what Secretary Bessent announced today is we're in the everything that can be done mode. I believe signals out of Iran indicate that that country is close to collapse. The amount of oil that the United States is getting out of the Gulf has surged in the last 30 days. It appears that the 12-day campaign against Iran ruined their ability to interdict the export of oil and natural gas from our allies in the Gulf. And now the secretary is making known, and President Trump's backing him up, if you're on Iran's side in any way, shape, or form, especially in currency trading or the export or import of critical materials not humanitarian related, you're not on our team. And I think the screws are going to bite deep and bite hard. In fact, I would be on alert for a strike back, a very aggressive strike back from Iran.
Yeah, to that point, Iran's foreign ministry taking to the cameras, speaking out after Bessent's press conference. Take a listen.
Any escalation of this situation will undoubtedly bring about consequences of its own. Trying out methods that have already proven to be failures will certainly not bring about a different outcome.
So we've watched this, Francesca, the oil up and down. It has hovered right around 85, maybe even a little less over recent days. And there you see up just a little tonight. That is what they're watching. And the screws, to Hugh's point, on Iran are significant.
Well, there's still more that the U.S. could do, however. Secretary Bessent said today that the U.S. had contacted its allies, as well as other countries that would potentially be affected by this, either through the Pentagon, the State Department. President Trump had been calling world leaders directly, he said, to fire a warning shot at them effectively and set expectations that if they don't stop trade with Iran or financial transactions or a whole host of activities that the U.S. says is assisting Iran with its war, that the U.S. will impose secondary sanctions on those nations. Now, they haven't said what countries those are that they're talking to, but asked about the United Arab Emirates and the fact that the UAE announced last week that it was suspending trade with Iran, he suggested that those two things were directly related.
John, in the meantime, another country and economic pressure back and forth, and that is Canada, as the deal with Canada has fallen apart. Both sides saying it's the other side's fault. Here's the Canadian Prime Minister and the U.S. Trade Representative.
We could not accept what the U.S. had offered. That's not to say there won't be challenges in the road ahead, but we're ready to meet them because we have all we need right here.
But we sought to accommodate the Canadians by giving them, by cutting tariffs in half on steel and aluminum. They wanted more, and we weren't prepared to do that. I think the market knows that at the end of the day, this is 5% of imports from Canada. There's no possible way it can really affect U.S. well-being.
That said, John, Canada is saying they're going to announce retaliatory strikes, tariffs rather, tomorrow. The president put out on Truth Social warning Canada of further consequences. Remember, much of electricity, oil, and gas that Canada gets is transported through the USA. Someone should get these clowns to fall in line, or the consequences for Canada will be far worse. Thoughts?
Well, since the beginning of this administration, we have seen the president use tariffs as kind of an on-again, off-again strategy. He frames it as it's part of the art of the deal. And we've seen them be put forward, we've seen them be delayed, we've seen them be walked back. And really what we've seen in the market is that this has created a ton of volatility. Americans are ultimately really paying more than tariffs, they're paying a chaos tax. Costs continue to go up because any economist can tell you the worst thing that you could put into the marketplace is a lack of predictability. You can build a market strategy around higher costs. It's harder to do it when you have no idea where the costs are going. Right around the corner, millions of families are looking towards the start of the school year. And a new study that came out the other day from the Century Foundation shows that Americans are expecting to pay upwards of 11% more than they paid last year for simple back-to-school supplies. You're looking at 45% of Americans expecting to have to take on some level of debt just to be able to buy the supplies and food required for their kids to go back to school. That's a troubling statistic. These are the things that people are paying attention to here at home. They're not able to follow the day-to-days of a tariff strategy, but they're feeling this every single day in their pocketbook.
Yeah, Hugh, the president says Canada has been raking us over the coals on a number of different products for years and years. And the deal that they did strike, or thought they were going to get with Canada, was actually giving them a lot on different items that they had taken the tariffs down. Canada could not politically take that deal.
It was political, Brett, and I think we need to zoom out a little bit. The dysfunctional relationship between Canada and its big brother to the north has gone off the rails for 10 years. If you look at anything other than just the narrow trade deal, their defense expenditures got down to 1.2% of GDP. They're trying to get the 2% free rider on the American defense budget. They have been taking advantage of American generosity and goodwill. I don't know any Americans who don't like Canadians. I love the fact that we have cross-border sports teams in the NFL and in the baseball and basketball. We love that. But it really does come down to the whole of government approach. Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney have been indifferent to basic American interests. Mark Carney is playing sweetheart with Xi Jinping. And Donald Trump is noticed, and Americans are noticed, and it's coming out in this trade deal. And they really cannot, they can't punch up like this. We're $31 trillion. They're $2.5 trillion in economy. It's not going to end well for the Canadian friends up north.
And, Francesca, this happens in the prism of the midterm elections. And we've got some midterm analysis with the vice president and others hitting the campaign trail. Take a listen.
The Democrats are running a very corrupt game, which is they're trying to tear down this country. And what's left over with the ashes of what they've torn down is socialism.
If this is framed as a battle between the establishment and the DSA, the establishment will lose.
Democrats are absolutely united in recognizing that President Trump is a threat to our economy and a threat to our democracy.
We're going to win these midterms. We're going to defy history. We have the best showman in the world in Donald J. Trump.
A lot of focus on Democrats in the fall, but tomorrow, two runoffs, solid GOP states, South Carolina, Oklahoma. But the big one there, Senator Darlene Graham trying to hold on to that seat. Francesca.
Well, and you brought up Vice President J.D. Vance, who was actually campaigning today in Maine, a state, close to Canada, pushing that economic message and some of the things that Hugh was saying there. Now, with respect to South Carolina in this race tomorrow, Darlene Graham, has the support of President Trump. He's done 2 tele-rallies for her, including one that's about to start a few minutes from now. He had the rally for her in South Carolina the other night. He defended her against the allegations that, she might not know enough about national security after her comments in the debate. So he's really come out aggressively in support of her, said at that rally that he was the one who asked her to run for this office, really boosted her campaign, and we'll see what happens against Ralph Norman tomorrow.
We'll have it all covered. Panel, thanks.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.